Burypark's transformation into an energetic and culturally diverse neighbourhood has been a continuing process shaped by waves of immigration that sustained its cultural exchange. The area's rich history and diverse population have contributed its unique character and made it a focal point for many people. The roots of Burypark's cultural melting pot can be traced back to the 1950s and 60s, when many people of South Asian origin came to the UK in search of work and settled in the area. Over time, Burypark became a hub for the Asian community in Luton, with businesses and community organisations catering to their needs. How did Burypark, as we know it today, evolve into a thriving cultural hub that attracts people from various backgrounds? What events and factors led to its transformation into a bustling fairground where different communities converge?
When we first came to Luton, which was over 50 years ago now, it was a pretty diverse community even then, but the big waves of immigration had actually come from different parts of the British Isles. We'd had the Scots coming down from Scotland, the Welsh, and then much later on the Irish as well. And the Scots and the Welsh in particular, they came here because there was work at Vauxhall Motors in particular, but other factories too. It was a very big industrial town. And when we first moved here over 50 years ago, General Motors in this conurbation employed about 38,000 people.
I lived in Ivy Road, 27 Ivy Road. I lived there from when I was born in 1952 until we left Burypark in 1969.
I came actually in 19th April 1977 to Luton, direct from Bangladesh.
So during the 60s to 80s, I grew up in Chorney area in Leagrave, but my parents both grew up in Burypark.
I moved to Alexandra Avenue in the late 70s when I was a very little child with my family near Denby High School, and so Burypark was very close and it was somewhere I visited pretty often.
Probably in the 70s, late 70s, moved into Luton. Sort of went back to our regions a couple of times, but always came back to Luton.
So I've lived in Luton my whole life. The only time I moved was for university for 3 years, but since then I've been here my whole life.
I was born right at the end of the 60s, so it was from the 70s through to the 80s. I grew up around Kingsway, so my mum and dad lived on Connaught Road.
In the 60s, I lived with my family in Burypark, in a number of locations in Burypark, in Westbourne Road and then in Portland Road.
Basically, it's the bottom of Farley Hill area, and it's literally a 5-minute walk from here, Russell Street. And that's where my father and my mama first bought a house, and we lived there till I was in university.
I came to England and in Luton on a very cold December 1967.
So I grew up in all these areas, mainly the housing estates, and as a young child in the Burypark area.
But in those early days, it was around about the turn of the century, it was very much a residential area. It was only like that in the 20s and 30s that people started to dig up their front gardens, and turn the houses into shops.
My earliest memory is when they extended the Oak Road end of the football ground in 1956.
So So my memories of Burypark, because my parents grew up there, we used to go there often. And my doctor's was Dr. Bell. That surgery is still there. That was where we went to the doctor's. And opposite the doctor's was a pet shop. I think everybody remembers the pet shop. In those days, pet shops had lots of live animals in them, so we used to go to the doctor's and then go and see all the animals. And the bicycle shop that's there, I believe, was still there, and I think that, so I was born in 1965, so I probably had my first bike when I was around 7, and then I always had bicycles all the way up to my adults. Always went to Burypark to buy my bicycles. And there was a Barclays Bank on the corner, which has really only recently closed down, and my mother worked there. So she worked there all the way from the 50s, 60s, 70s, that was the bank. And the cinema, which is now the church, which is listed, that's the Odeon.
My first cinema, I went to see The Jungle Book in the Odeon, and I remember walking in, and I used to just think it was an absolutely massive cinema. You'd go in and there'd be the steps in the middle, and then you could go to either side.
So we used to go to the cinema. So we went to Burypark a lot, and we went shopping. It was a thing to do if you wanted furniture, carpets, anything for the house. You went to Burypark. It was where, I guess it's like going to an out-of-town retail park.
So I used to go shopping with my mum every week down to the West Side Centre. Now that's not there anymore, but it is where the big Sainsbury's is. And I can remember, well, having to help my mum, but also outside of the West Side Centre there was this wall, and it was a small wall, and it was like a little maze, and we used to run around it and along it and make sure we didn't fall off. Also, Burypark wasn't as busy in terms of traffic, and I know now it's very busy and congested, but it was much more sort of open when I was a child back in the 70s and 80s.
At a time when there was still a farm in Kenilworth Road, and my great-grandmother, who I remember, described how cows used to stick their heads over the fence at the end of the garden. So there's still remnants of a farm in Bury Farm there where Kenilworth Road is now.
So we went to watch Luton, and ever since then, you know, all the people from the council estates then started to go and watch Luton. But that was my first impression of Burypark as the football club.
Yeah, well, the main thrust for me was, of course, the football ground, because my great-grandfather used to go, my grandfather, my father, I go, and my grandson goes. So there's 6 generations of us have been. I always remember that during the week there weren't many cars parked in Ivy Road, but on a Saturday when there was a football match there were cars parked both sides of the road. How an ambulance or a fire engine would have been able to get up Ivy Road, I don't know, because that was really the main entrance to the ground at the top of Ivy Road, where there were 2 great big swing doors.
In the 1960s, it was very much still, I would say, predominantly a white neighbourhood.
But that time in school there was no black people, no Bangladeshi, no Pakistani, only the white people, from kitchen staff to the head teacher.
Well, the lifestyles was tough. The council estates were quite rough at times.
I mean, we were all very poor. In general, you know, everyone was poor. Certainly in the 60s, we all lived in one room in Westbourne Road, and there were like 5 of us, 5 kids, and mum and dad.
My husband was unemployed, and we started our life claiming the benefit.
Well, Luton was an industrial working class industrial town with a very mixed population even then, and if you go back even further, Burypark in particular, and there was very large populations from Scotland, from Wales, later from Ireland, before the Commonwealth people came from South Asia.
In the 1970s, you know, it was more affluent. There were more jobs around. We moved to better housing. New housing estates were built. mainly for Vauxhall workers. My father used to work at Vauxhall, so we managed to kind of like go up the housing ladder. In the 1980s, through the 1970s and 80s, I became a teenager and a young man. So I became more independent. And what I noticed, and leading up to now as well, that the area, and indeed Luton, not only Bury Park but in Luton, has become far more diverse, but far more diverse with communities from South Asia.
I moved in Luton, I came from back home in 1969 from Bangladesh. When we come here, there's only 36 houses in Luton. Now maybe about 5,000 or 10,000 houses.
So I settled down within 2 years, it was no problem.
So I came to the Luton in mid-70s. My father had already been here. He came to Luton in 1960. And I, with my mum, my 2 sisters and brother, we came to the UK in the later half of 1975 to join our father, as I said, who was here from 1960s.
Burypark has always been a cosmopolitan area, apparently even going back to the 1930s when there was Italian and Jewish communities. My parents are all completely Lutonian for hundreds of years. And in the 1980s, it was more eclectic than it is now. There was a larger African Caribbean population in Burypark. Then there was the building that is now the Islamic Centre, the one with the pillars. That was a synagogue. There were a lot. I remember the Asian sweet shops. That's really speaking to my sweet tooth, and clothes shops. So yeah, there was much more of a mix, and now it feels very South Asian. So it seemed to be more mixed. I think there was Italian cafes there when I was younger. So we are talking, between the 60s and 80s. But it was always cosmopolitan.
Well, I think economically it suffered from the industrialisation, the closing down of many of the industries and massive reduction in the employment in those industries. But the populations have become much more diverse than when we were first here. First of all, the Pakistani Kashmiri population, which was very large. There was quite an Indian population from East Asia, East Africa first of all. And then of course we had the Bangladeshi population, and more recently we've had the African population. So we've had very, very diverse populations from all over the world. And I like to think that Luton is an interesting microcosm of the whole world, which makes it really interesting.
Burypark went through a transformation like many other sort of inner cities of that similar nature, similar to Southall, similar to Belgravia Road in Leicester. Burypark went through where we had traditional English-owned shops.
I just remember seeing a halal butcher's as I was driving past or walking past or whatever, and I've just looked at it and I thought, that's strange, I don't know what that is. I wonder what that is. And I think that might have been 80s, it could have been the 80s. So I'm not really sure when halal was introduced into Burypark.
There was a McDonald's there. The McDonald's was halal.
The different religious communities in Luton over time. Initially, if you go back to the 19th century, Luton was very much a sort of Methodist town, non-conformist Christians, small businesses and so on. Later on, it became more Catholic with the Irish and the Scottish communities in particular. And the Catholic churches grew up and Catholic communities around those churches. After that, we saw a growing Muslim population. But we must remember there was a very small Jewish population too, and there was a mosque in Burypark, a synagogue in Burypark, which is now a mosque,
I think over time the community in Burypark has changed, particularly when I was a teenager. I had friends who lived, Maple Road, Connaught Road. My friend Karen was Irish, Marion was Caribbean. I had other friends who were from different Asian backgrounds, whether they're Bangladeshi or Pakistani, Kashmiri. So it's a very mixed community. But equally now I think it's still diverse, but we've got new Eastern European people moving in as well.
I remember my mum must have been one of the few Bengali sari-clad women in Luton town.
And there was a growing Caribbean and Pakistani population initially, and then later on the Bangladeshis as well. But so I had those connections, even though we lived in the Saints area in Austin Road at that time. So I wasn't actually living in Burypark, but I knew it well because of my family connections, and obviously we used to shop there and so on.
Factories were closing down in Luton, Asians were moving in, setting their own businesses up. And the other thing I notice is that now shops are open till really late at night and at weekends. Yeah, they never used to be in the 60s and 70s, and presumably before. Shops used to close at 5 o'clock, close on Sundays, and on Wednesday afternoon shops would close. But it was the Asians who set up in Luton and presumably elsewhere. They set up corner shops run by families, and it's those shops that kept open until late night.
Well, if you're looking at Burypark now, obviously the whole makeup of the shopping has changed now. Lots of different sorts of shops have opened up there.
We run it's a DIY store. It's a hardware retail shop in the name of Home Improvement Centre, which is on Dunstable Road, 229 to 231 Dunstable Road in Burypark.
If I'm correct, my dad had one of the first, if not definitely one of the first Bengali grocery shop in Luton.
The business has been running since 1979, so around about 43 years now, and it's in the heart of Burypark, and it's a very multicultural society there.
It is very diverse now. There is more opportunity for Asian ladies and children and men to have activities and takeaways, especially, and eating places, which didn't really occur.
But Burypark was just one road. I remember even from my community, we had a shop near Kenilworth Road. We had also a shop on Burypark Road.
I know that it was easy to walk down Burypark without any fear. And even sometimes when I worked in Bushmead, Youth Club, where there was a lot of white kids. And I would say to them, oh, after this club, I'm going to go down Burypark. And they would say, you ain't going to walk down Burypark, are you? So I said, yeah, I'm not scared to walk down Burypark, but it's like their perception of Burypark, because there's a lot of Asian people that think, oh, they're going to get robbed, they're going to get mugged. And now, as I said before, I would walk down Burypark any time of night, but some people wouldn't do that because they're just scared, and the perception of the people that works and live in Burypark.
Well, when I set up BP Shan Company in 1978 from Beegrave Road, I was only 28. And many a time people would knock on my front door of the office. And when they saw a young man, they would wonder, a colored face, a young guy, does he know what it is? He says he's an accountant, I saw this happen, especially with the English people. And then I said to myself, right, if I'm opening the door, I'm going to wear my glasses, I'm going to wear my coat, and then invite people in. And the first thing I would say is that no obligation, 10 minutes. If you like me and I like you, I can act for you. If not, go away, no obligation.
We had got skinhead. They used to come time to time, and people are scared of that. When they come, they smash everything, mainly the Burypark, the Asian area.
And when we used to do our cooking, when my mum used to do cooking, the neighbours used to really complain. Our English neighbours were complaining. There was, there was a lot of racism, and they used to call us, they stink, they smell, etc. And so it was very, very hard for my mother to cook traditionally.
Also during match day, particularly, I think it was quite a different approach for most of the children or from the ethnic minority was to stay out of the area, the fear of getting attacked. So we would be told don't go out on during match day, particularly as the crowds, the football fans, supporters went through the route of going through the West Side shopping centre, and a lot of the away fans would cause trouble.
There was also the issue of race and racism. And I would say perhaps from 76, 77 onwards, the Bengali population faced serious racism in the area.
Other memories that I have in Bury Park, when we were young, we used to have Britain First and the EDL come to Bury Park, and we were told by our parents and our elders, don't come out of your house, don't go to town centre, don't go to Bury Park. When the EDL come, it's not going to be safe for us, they're going to smash our windows, they're going to smash our cars. And they viewed Bury Park as a dangerous area, but it really wasn't. When the EDL did come down, it was supposed to be a peaceful protest. The police organised themselves very well, the community stood together, they didn't react, they just ensured that the shops and the places of worship were defended. Nothing occurred as far as I remember, nothing broke out. The police controlled the protest really well, and the community of Bury Park represented their community really well as well.
Before the Remar used to come, they don't want to see different colors, dresses, because some people covering faces, some people covering ear, and they don't want to see, they want to see the normal ear. Because that sometimes they backbite people here, but nowadays we haven't got this kind of things. Nowadays, inshallah, everybody, they accepted us, we accepted them. Nowadays, police living in our area, police and other different countries, Bosnian, Romanian, Bengalis, side by side they are living, there is no problem. And I hope everybody will live in harmony, but this is the good situation we have got.
And so each generation there's people from different parts of the world. That's why I think Luton's such a brilliant town to live in, because we've got so many different communities who've come here to make it their home.
What I really kind of love about the area is there's a huge community spirit. I think one of the things I'm keen to kind of mention is that there's a lot more confidence amongst people from different races and groups and religions in Bury Park. So for example, I remember growing up, my father would kind of tell me not to go into the Bury Park area in case there was football hooligans around on a Saturday, but I don't think that's the experience of younger people growing up now, and I think it's changed somewhat. So I think that's a good positive change.
There's been a shift from, there used to be more of a, I would say more different cultures down there, and it feels more of South Asian, people from South Asian descent there. The shops are very similar in what they're selling. A lot of South Asian jewellery, South Asian clothing, South Asian food.
The shops now are specialists selling sweets and all sorts of different things that you don't get anywhere else in Luton.
We have got lots of Bengali shops, lots of Bengali fishes and vegetables, and even other peoples are using it.
Bury Park has been great in that it's provided that sense of identity. It's been there, every time I felt nostalgic or felt like I need to connect with my roots, I can always go into Bury Park, go into one of the clothes shops, look at clothes, like South Asian clothes, go into, some of the South Asian food markets, and, if say mum's not home and I'm craving South Asian food, I'll go to Bury Park and get some.
Experiencing Eid in your own country, Bangladesh or Pakistan or any Muslim countries, it would be like an amazing feeling. You know how Christmas feels in the UK, Eid will feel amazing in a Muslim country, but when you're in Bury Park, you actually get that feeling when the day before Eid, you know, people come. So it's a Chand Raat where people can go do their Mehndi. People are going to purchase their Eid clothes, saris, Punjabis, salwar kameez. And again, it's just that beautiful community spirit where everybody's excited for Eid. They can't wait to get dressed. They're all getting ready. People are dancing on the streets because they're excited about Eid.
Just the unity and harmony during a festive season. For example, Ramadan, you will see the local shops, you will see the local people, everyone coming out to celebrate in the correct way and form.
Now, of course, everything's open all hours now, and it's a very lively area.
So I think our Asian community, our British Asian community, have actually changed the culture. So that's one change that's come around in British culture in terms of people now have shops open till late at night, because Asian shops in the 60s and 70s and 80s were open till late at night and at weekend and on Christmas Day and on bank holidays. So I think that's you know, it's a positive change.
There are the various mosques, and they're all community areas, and people know people. People feel like they're at home.
I feel that Burypark is a constantly, although it's constantly reinventing itself, it is a very resilient place.
I love it. I think it's the centre of the community. You know, whenever I go into Burypark, there's always a friendly face that you recognise. There's always people that are, you know, open and talkative, and you know, you've built up friendships and a community atmosphere and environment there for many, many years. So I think it shows to the rest of Britain what multiculturalism and diversity looks like.
So I think the population makeup is far more diverse than it was when I was here in the 70s. Yeah, so I think it's far more diverse and exciting place to live in now.
Burypark's Burypark. It's always been Burypark as far as I'm concerned. It's just Burypark. I don't know what else to say really. Yeah.
Burypark's unique history, diverse population and cultural exchange have contributed to its distinctive character and made it not only a home, but an income source for many people. It is a place where different cultures come together, creating a vibrant and dynamic atmosphere that is celebrated by all who live and visit there. Burypark is a place that has acted as a stepping stone for many generations and will continue to do so, a place where people who have spread their wings to other countries still call it their home.